You may know these guys as having sold a company for $100+ million at 32 years old. No big deal. But you're about to learn from two of the craziest people I've met, and they happen to be a couple, and now they're friends of mine. Okay, so what's the deal? They started a gym licensing company, and they were doing $2.3 million a month and $17 million a year in 1 year. Ridiculous. Then they did a supplement company that I use, this one, that did $1.7 million in 6 months. Also ridiculous. Then they created a sales company that did $1.6 million in a month, all before the age of 32. Ridiculous. Were they lucky? I don't know. Being lucky is probably not being right 4 times all within a 10-year period. Instead, there's a system for that, and we break it all down in this video, so buckle up. We've talked about stuff that they've never discussed before, even in all of these interviews.
We're gonna ask them, how big are their calves? Really? How about their bank accounts? How much money is there really in there? What it's like to be a power couple. Alex, how sad is it that Leila's way cooler than you and probably the smart one in the relationship? How hairy do you think the 2 of your children might be, given your Persian roots? I'm gonna ask them the tough questions, you guys.
So get your notepad out, put your drink down, because you're gonna wanna take some notes for this. Everybody always asks me, like, how do you get mentors? What's your board of directors look like? Like, how do you get a board of advisors? And I've struggled to come up with terminology about the right framework to express the fact that I find it annoying when people ask me to be a mentor. Don't ask me that, I'm a terrible mentor. And simultaneously, it's so important that you have people that you can call like that. Do either of you have a framework of like how you group humans around you and keep them in your circle?
People want to be, you know, in proximity with Alex because he helps everyone that he talks to, right? And I think that I picked that up from him because I watched him, like, we went to our first, like, mastermind. It was my first, not his. And I watched him be like that with people, then I was like, I should always give first because I saw, like, how much people then are willing to do for him, and not even, like, we need anything from anybody, but, like, it's just nice to then, it kind of creates a, I think the only way that you can create a real relationship is if you are the vulnerable one that gives first. And so I think in doing that, then you open yourself up to people who are actually really abundant, you know, because then they're like, if somebody sees that something he's giving is actually really good, they're like, fuck, I should talk to him. And like, I don't care what revenue level you're at or anything you're doing, like, I'm going to talk to that guy. So I think I've seen a lot of people approach Alex just because of that, because they're like, he's got something really good.
Yeah, so like when we started like the mastermind stuff, like I didn't have a lot of skills that were like useful to anybody else, but I knew how to like run sales teams. And so I just was like, well, I can do that. And so I just literally went person by person. I was like, hey, do you have like sales scripts or anything I can help with? Like, that's what I'm good at. And so then I got on calls with basically everybody who was in the group and just like rewrote some of their scripts, like, hey, try this, and like, you know, just the stuff that I was good at, like try this on drilling your teams, like here's how we can recruit better. And then what happened is, like, at the end of that, they voted me like member of the year for the whole group. But like, I think more interestingly, like, so there's an objective like outcome, but then I had like 100 people that if I needed something, I had that like available to me. And so like, I always just like having lots of cards or like lottery tickets uncashed. So like most people are takers, a handful of people are like, actually it's probably like 25% are like takers, and then the vast majority are tit for tatters, just like you give me, I give you something, and then very few people just like give, and then if they get something back, awesome. But like when givers meet givers, I think they resonate more, and then that's where I feel like you get, you know, kind of better friendships. You network well if you are an asset in someone else's network. Let's say I'm valuable in someone else's network, and someone, so like Codie, just use the example, and Codie wants to gain status with somebody else. You might be like, hey, Sam, you should meet Alex. And so now you get value from both of us, and that happens if you are valuable. If you have no value, then you don't get intros, because then it's a cost for you. If I suck, then Sam's now doing you a favor to do me a favor. So it's like, man, that's a really costly relational exchange. Whereas like, if I add value and so does Sam, then everyone kind of gets benefit. And that's why I think it becomes more viral that way.
I think that connector aspect is such a hack, because then every time you meet Sam or every time you meet Lisa or whoever I introduce you to, what's your common denominator? Me. So I don't really have to engage with you for you to engage with me with another person. Then you multiply that by 100 and sort of magic starts to happen and you don't even realize it. Right. You guys now invest in a ton of businesses. You see, you know, I don't know how many businesses do you have to see to invest in one?
So it's about 0.2% of businesses that reach out to us, we invest in.
Okay, 0.2%. So you've got a pretty big funnel at the top. Then you've got a process to funnel it down.
Yeah.
What these days, everybody wants to know, like Bitcoin on fire, NFTs dying, stock market crashing, real estate probably next, interest rates nightmare. So like, where do you put your money?
Under your bed, I'm telling you. It's
Okay.
fiat currency burning, you know.
Just stockpile.
So I
How do you
mean,
decide what to invest in?
yeah, well, Warren Buffett talked about this at the Berkshire Hathaway meeting. So he just said, like, the two things that you can do in an inflationary period is you can increase your earning power and you can invest in businesses that have low capital expenses. So, like, our businesses that we invest in are internet businesses. And so a lot of e-learning, but internet businesses in general. So they have no inventory, they have no rent, they have no supply chain issues, they have no, and so the only costs that we have are mostly variable costs with media, and even the fixed costs of like employees, as terrible as it sounds, like if revenue drops below a certain point and the ratio of clients to staff is not right, like you can adjust it, whereas like a lease or a big machine that you bought that you have a 10-year thing on, it's a lot less flexible. So for us, we invest in high cash flow internet businesses that are low capex, and so that's kind of the investment thesis, and it's also what we're good at. And so that's it wasn't by master design. It just happens to be beneficial in this period.
Yeah, and I think we have our advisors that are really great with stocks and NFT and Bitcoin. We have our expert on each of those, and so we listen to them and put some into each thing basically, but anytime we invest in anything, honestly, I think both of our thought is probably we're never seeing the money again. We would only invest an amount where we're it's fucking gone. And that's sometimes a lot of money too. And I'm like, fuck it. It's because we're so focused on the thing that's making the cash flow and the businesses that are cash flowing and investing in those that, that's what we're really good at. And I just don't, honestly, I'm gonna be really honest, I just find it also fucking boring. I literally, reading about it, I watched a whole day on NFTs, on Bitcoin, all that, and I'm just but I'm so good at this other thing already that I feel so much more fulfillment from it. And I think that if I didn't have that, I would totally get into that stuff, but I do have that. So it's
And you make more money in business than you do in investing. The equity growth itself is bigger if you're good at it. Do you have a lot of debt?
No. I have basically no debt.
So it's so interesting because we don't either.
Yeah.
And so
real estate. I have real estate. I have locked in non-variable real estate that cash could completely cover.
Yeah.
And I'll do debt up front for deals for sure. But then I usually
seller finance debt or things like that.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Yeah. Non-recourse.
Yeah.
Or I might do personal guarantees on a very small deal if that helps get it done or something. But for the most part, I'm a wuss on debt. But that comes from being immigrant mentality. My parent, if I was smart, my wealthiest friends apply debt intelligently. I just don't think that I'm smart enough to be able to model out potentially negative scenarios in order to feel good enough to sleep at night.
People talk about how do you get good at investing? I was thinking about as we were talking about it. But I think one of the things too, and maybe you feel this, is I don't even think that we could be good at investing our money because in any scenario where you're fearful. Because I feel the moment that you're scared, you just are making decisions out of fear, and that's how most people invest. They actually invest out of fear. They're actually scared of missing out, and so they invest. Yeah. Or they're scared of losing, so they don't invest. You know what I mean? It's always fear driving the decision. So I feel honestly for me, even until we had a certain amount of money, I couldn't make any clear decisions about investing. And now I feel well, I think I've confronted a lot mentally of just what if we lost everything? And I'm we've been broke before. Who gives a shit? You know what I mean? It's not that bad.
But that's the debt thing. I mean, Warren talks about it, but it's risking what you have and what you need for more of what you don't have and you don't need. And it's just I don't know, the margin utility of money is very low. A lot of people don't like hearing that, but it's just true. And so
true.
what is the if the only reward is that we are just risking, you know what I mean, so that we can have a bigger number, it's just
It's funny because people ask me, I actually get it all the time when I do Q&As. Why does Alex wear a wife beater and Crocs? I'm that's what your question is. You know what I mean? Out of all the knowledge, hey, what's on your nose? But anyways, it's fine. You can ask those questions. But
Why? I think that is totally valid. That's the women politicians that get asked what they're wearing all the time.
Oh, really?
Oh God, I don't know why you want to know that.
I don't know why people want to know. But what I always tell people is they're does it bother you? And I'm why would it bother me if somebody does whatever the fuck they want? Like, that's so cool that, like, Alex has always been that way, which is, like, when I first met him, like, I'll never forget. We were, like, barely dating, and he came out, like, I can tell the story, right? He came out of the room, and he's on the phone with somebody, and he's just butt-ass naked. And I was like, because, like, we're like, kind of, but, like, I was like, wait, what? Like, we're on this, but I'm completely dressed in the middle of the day.
It's like our second date.
Yeah, and I'm like, oh my God. And I was like, wait, what do you, he's like, I walk around naked. And I was like, oh, but, you know, I'm here. And he's like, I don't give a shit. And I was like, what? And it was like, at the same time, I was like, I wish I could do that. You know? Like, I wish I felt, like, fucking awesome enough about, like, I don't give a shit if I'm naked, you know? But, like, totally. I just would never do that. And I've always admired it about Alex because he just doesn't give a shit.
I know. Where do you get that muscle? How do you build the not give a shit muscle? Were you always like that?
No idea. No, probably not. Probably
when were you not? Like, when was the first time that you could, or the last time you could remember?
Oh, that I mean, I still care about things for sure. I don't want to say like I don't care. There's definitely, I think it is a muscle that you just get stronger and stronger. But I think a lot of that comes to my like beliefs about life and living, which is like, I tend to not think that most things will matter eventually, and so, and I also think that most people will not be at my funeral, and I also think they'll all forget about me within a few weeks, and so like. Do I really care? Like, if I'm going to die and 2 weeks later they're going to forget about me, do I really care what they think about my clothing?
Yeah.
Like, my death, the most important thing that will happen to me, they will forget about 2 weeks later. So I just don't think it matters if I'm wearing a beater or, like, nice shoes or, like, so it's just, like, am I comfortable in this? Does it serve the functions that I want? Like, so for me, it's, like, I have to be able to get into restaurants wearing it. I have to be able to work out in it. And I have to be able to, like, work in it and be cool. And like the reason that I wear the flannels most of the times is like I can go from pretty hot if I button everything all the way down to like varying levels of less heat to taking it off and I still have an undershirt, because otherwise if I just had that and I went all the way, then I'd be shirtless and I wouldn't be able to go out in public. So it's just like, and then even with these,
noticed a lot more.
Yeah, right. Yeah. But like even with these, I can like kick these off under the table if I start, like I have a lot of like temperature regulation because that's apparently something that I do a lot. I get hot a lot. And so like that is functional for me. Like I think the vast majority of like suffering comes from our own judgment of what we think things should be. Yeah. So it's just like I shouldn't feel this like why not? Like I shouldn't be angry, why not?
Yeah. But I think most people are in their heads unhappily. Like I don't know what the percentage is. You guys might know this, but like I think people probably are unhappy most of the time.
I think people think they're unhappy. I think people are human, and they judge themselves for having a human experience. And they're like, I am hungry. It's like I always crack up at like the antidepressant ads. They're like, hungry, horny, sleepy, like awake. Well, then you need, you know, and it's just like, so you're a human, and you have varying degrees of emotion. And people just want to not experience the low ranges, but like, if in order for there to be a range, there has to be a median, and then there has to be half of the time it's below that. And people just don't want to experience that, and then they label the negative experience as a deficiency or something wrong with them, and then they spend the rest of their lives trying to like fix this thing that they completely fictionalized. So I think most people think that happy means that they have to be above a midline. And so that it does, so like by the definition of how they define happiness, they are bound to not be. LeBron has his thing like no new friends, and I feel like we're like no new ideas. And to be fair, like most ideas are not new. Most people just poorly execute old ideas. And like to make money, you don't even have to have a new idea. You just need to like make a promise everyone else is making and actually fulfill it, which most people don't do anyways.
I was actually looking at the cadence of meetings in a business, right? And I was labeling, like, in a traditional business, how many are strategic and how many are tactical. And there's so many more tactical touch points. And I was thinking, I was like, this just proves with math the fucking point that, like, it's all in execution. It's like you don't need all the new ideas because, like, the percentage that a business spends on the strategy and the new ideas is so little compared to the tactics.
We started having a meeting that was ideation, and it was the worst meeting we ever had because lots of people ideated. And then it was like, so who's going to be in charge of this?
Yeah, right.
Right? And then, you know, you would give me an idea, and then you would say, this is the idea. And then we'd be like, who's going to do the idea? And the only option was like, be like, well, that's going to be you. If you bring an idea, like you are going to need to be the one that actually does the damn thing. Yeah. And so we switched them to execution, which is just, if you have an idea, what are you executing on? What actually worked? Because we're not recreating the wheel on anything that I do, or a lot of the stuff that you guys
No,
do.
none of the stuff we do. We are all about, I mean, and to your point about like boring businesses, like we are all about like very easy to understand businesses that we have simple levers that we can consistently execute over and over again and make a lot of money doing it.
You have really strong opinions on focus, one income stream, get rich, and then what?
So I think a lot of this is like when you look at dichotomies versus continuums. So it's like, okay, well, if a business has two product lines, is that one business, right? And so like there's probably elements of gray between like, no, having one single thing that you sell to make money is probably not a good idea. Now, it is a good idea in the beginning if that's how, like all of those things add complexity. So it's just like the more you do, the more complexity there is. And I think that it's just so easy to add and so hard to do. And most people do not have, like, one of the difficulties with giving like mass social media advice is that you don't have, like, I can't give context to whoever the person is, but I can say that like of the many conversations I have with entrepreneurs, probably 19 out of 20, maybe 99 out of 100, even more, need to just focus more because like their personality type wants to do new things, wants to do these new exciting things, but like, you know, I'm sure you get these reach outs too. It's like, hey man, I'm doing 50 grand a month. I think I've saturated my market. And I'm like, it's a $60 billion industry. Like, what problem are we solving here? It's like, well, I can't grow past here. I'm like, okay, you're just blaming circumstance on the fact that you have ignorance or a lack of skills to get over this hump, which is like, you have one sales guy. Maybe you should hire another one. Oh no, we just doubled the business. What a concept. It's like, you didn't saturate the market. This is crazy. You're like, well, we doubled our ad spend, you know? And so, but most people just do the next thing rather than fixing the problem in front of them. And then when they add up all their income streams, it's still the same number. And that's what's really interesting is that I think that there's like entrepreneurs have a certain like income level or revenue level that they can support with their skill set. And it just divides out between whatever, you know, amount of things you have. But the thing is, once it's divided out, I don't think you can move forward until you figure out how to overcome, which usually means you have to focus on one, figure out the problem is, and then all of a sudden you get the next level. And so I think it's easier to go like stay narrow and then build the equity in one big business. Now, if you have product lines, et cetera, that's fine. And you have to have leaders who can take those things on. But yeah, so that's probably not a rounded out point there, but.
No, I think it's really interesting because we've got, like, I think the reason we feel so strongly about this too is we've seen it so many times in Gym Launch is when it started, and then in Allen, and then now in acquisition.com. And in Gym Launch, like, I'll never forget being at one of our, you know, highest clientele meetups, which is like your gym's doing $1 million a year, right? And it's like, then at that point, they're like, I'm going to start another one. And we saw it with like, it was one meetup, there were 3 of them where this happened, which is they were doing, you know, maybe 850 or 950, $1 million in revenue, right? And then they open a new location, the other one sinks to 500, this one goes to 5, and we were like,
and then he's like, but I'm going to open a third one now because now I got the systems in place. And then it goes to like 350, 350, 350.
It was crazy.
Like, so like clockwork. And so we're like, okay, there's something to this. And then obviously Alex made his blunder of the season, which was like, we started Prestige Labs, which is our supplement company, which strategically wasn't, I don't think, a bad decision, but we were not at the skill set level to be able to do it. And we didn't understand like what leadership at that level needed to look like in terms of who we would need to recruit to run a business that day one was doing $1.5 million a month. Like we didn't know. Yeah. And so then I got diverted over here building this thing, and then Gym Launch just basically stuck.
Yeah, and it happened on a large scale for us. So like, you know, people look at it, they're like, yeah, but your business is doing like, you know, $4.5-5 million a month. We're like, yeah, but we know it should have been, you know, we should have sold our business for $300 million. Like we could have gotten the business to $500 million, but like we did things too soon. And most people, if you look at most businesses that are stable, like they add things very methodically. And every like couple of years but new entrepreneurs are like, next week, you know, like, oh, I've got 20 grand now, you know, I got to put it in this new product line. And so I think you have to, I said this in a video, I was like, you have to give general advice because you're like, well, for 95% of people, this is going to make the most sense. Whereas there's always the 5% that can, I mean, we know people who are the 5% and they can, you know, take it and do it. But most people that are watching this are not that.
I think where someone's at in their entrepreneurial journey, and the vast majority of people who are trying to do like I want lots of income streams, like don't even know how to have one. we want to cross $1 billion. And so, okay, in order for us to do that, we have to do something that, like, either we go high tech, but that's not our game. I mean, maybe in the future, but not now. That's not our skill set. So it's like, okay, so in what way can we kind of do like a boring business model that can get to $1 billion? Like, okay, well, this model will work. We have a lot of leverage with our experience, and we know how to do it, and we can attract the right people. And these are the types of businesses that we can do this over and over again with. And it's something that gives enough variety for me to not get bored, because I have new businesses that are coming in, new problems to solve regularly. And if we can do it, like, as long as that stimulus is there, and I have a really big, bone to chew on, for lack of a better term, big things take time. And so it has to have that, for me, it had to have that variety for a long period of time in order for me to stay in it for what I think it'll take, which will probably be a decade to hit, the $1 billion.
Mm-hmm. And you guys did Gym Launch for how many years?
5.
I just don't like the whole lifetime commitment thing. So I want to do this business for the rest of my life. I'm like, get the fuck out of here. Like, how many businesses actually last that long, for one? Mm-hmm. And then for two, I just don't like trying to predict the future of what I'm going to want in 20 years. So I think we both like setting a little bit smaller timelines.
Seasons.
Yeah, we're like, hey, we're going to live in Vegas for 3 years. Yeah. Or 2.
So we rock 5-year seasons has been the majority of our thing. I think I say 10 on camera, but I think it'll take less than that. But
yeah. But even at that point, we have no desire to sell acquisition.
Yeah.
That's not the plan at all. The plan was, the decision to sell Gym Launch. Gym Launch is a great business. Gym Launch is a great foundation to build a fitness empire. We decided we don't want to build a fitness empire. We knew exactly, we're like, this is what it's going to take to get it to $1 billion or the next level or whatever, right? And we're like, we just don't want to do that. And so we're like, this is the ladder. It's built 75%. Here's the rest of the way. Dedicate the rest of your 10 years. And we're like, it's not the wall I want to lean my ladder on. And so we're like,
why?
We're
not interesting. We have been in fitness for fucking ever. And on one side, you can hear the well, dude, it means you know so much more about it. You have such a huge compounding advantage, which, yes, we can do fitness in our sleeps. But at the same time, I don't want to do it. And for me, that is reason enough. I don't want to do it. And so that's fine.
Yeah.
We'd have to do M&A of gym chains, and we'd probably I'll tell you exactly what we would have done and the private equity firm that's doing it is probably has a slightly different playbook. They're going to probably do a tech play, which is not my wheelhouse. So I probably would. So it'll be interesting to see how they play it out. But probably would have franchised, number one. Probably would have acquired some sort of bank or processing to do niche processing for them. So I would own the processing, and I would have a percentage of it as well, because it's a royalty on top line revenue. Because Gym Launch produced over $1 billion in income for gyms, but we didn't get any kind of percentage on that because that wasn't the model, right? Because I had no way of invoicing for that, right? And so I probably would have some sort of conversion from the front-end licensing into the franchise to create a 10-year kind of recurring model, add in the niche banking piece, and then probably just start doing roll-ups on agencies to convert the agency front ends, basically get rid of their back end, use our back end, because we made 5 times more per customer than any of our competitors, and just use whatever their marketing, keep the face, keep the outbound dialers, keep their ad guys, and then just plug them all into our back end that would then funnel into the franchise. And that would be all I would do, and then, tuck-ins and just little things that would make sense strategically. But man, does that sound boring. It's just not, and we just didn't want to, I didn't want to be the gym guy. And maybe that's my own thing. I just didn't want to be, I already look like this. So I would be pegged as gym guy for fucking ever.
I think, to give you context, Gym Launch was started on accident.
Yeah.
It accidentally exploded, took us from being broke as shit and having no money to being extraordinarily wealthy. And we're super grateful for that. But it was never built intentionally. It wasn't what do you want to do every day? What do you like doing with your time? What do you see your life? It was we're fucking broke, keep going, we're not going to be broke one day. And so it's we never built it to be a business that both of us would be long lasting, have a drive for. And so just it's a great foundation for Fitness Empire. We said we need to build our foundation for the other kind of what we really want next. And so we want the machine that builds machines, really. And so that's what acquisition.com is.
Yes.
So we're that's what it is fundamentally to us. We never want to sell it. Maybe it will build other things. And acquisition will own other businesses.
And those might get bought and sold. But acquisition.com will never, because now that we did sell Gym Launch, like I never want to build a team from scratch again. Like, and we're doing with acquisition, and it's like the team we have now is fucking badass. But like, it's just time. You know what I mean? And I'd rather just get the trust and the trench knowledge and the experiences together, and then just keep sharpening the knife of that machine, and then we can, basically, and from a tax perspective, like selling just never makes sense. So it's just an accumulation game. And it's just for no reason, because like, why not? And that's literally the only reason we're doing it, because just why not? What else are we going to do? Like dig ditches? Like, I don't know. Like, this is what we find interesting.
Story time. All right, guys, this is kind of special because I just sold a website for $8K that I bought for about $100. It was called Grow Getters, a newsletter that talked about marketing growth. I did it just for fun with 2 friends, and it made me realize that I wanted to tell more people that you could start with small deals, you could start with large deals, but you can definitely start with online deals. So I partnered with this company, Flippa, thanks guys, about where to buy online businesses. It's my favorite site to buy any sort of online business, period, full stop. That's why I'm trying to invest in them. So maybe you guys can check this out so that I could get part of this series. That'd be awesome. Thanks, Blake, CEO. Because after all, we know that 94% of startups fail. That's why I like to buy them instead of build them. And this is true on Flippa too for online businesses. You can get loans or use seller financing, although you got to put down some cash. You can have profits on day one of owning the business. You can use the cash flow of the business to fund your next brilliant idea. But instead of paying for an idea, you buy it first. So here's the link. Go check them out. There's 500,000 businesses that have been listed on Flippa. They've done billions of dollars in transactions.
Codie, you're forgetting that Flippa is also the best place to sell an online business. They even have a matching algorithm to get your business in front of the people most likely to buy. So anyone out there looking to sell or even just find out what their business is worth, check out Flippa's free valuation tool here. Anyway, back to you on stage, Codie.
You have to sell something to someone. And the best way to let someone know that you have something to sell them is one of 2 things. You can communicate privately or you can communicate publicly. So on the basis level, because there's 5 ways you can leverage it, but just at the basic level, you can communicate privately, meaning you can email someone, you can text someone, you can call someone. It's any kind of way that you can talk face-to-face to somebody. These are all ways that you can communicate where it's just like, think inboxes and think things that someone has to check with passwords. Like those are all those are all things that you can do one-on-one. The public forum is like you can make posts, you can make content. Like those are the you can put a sign out. Like those are all literal ways of communicating one to many. And so if you don't have people to sell something to, you must advertise. When we define advertise, that means to make known. So you have paid advertising, you have free advertising. Both of them are advertising. And so that is how you advertise, is you make things known. You can do it publicly, you can do it privately. And what you are making them known is your offer. And the offer is what you're going to present them, hopefully something that is so good that they will feel stupid saying no. And if you don't know what to sell, sell your time. And it's the easiest thing, it has no inventory, it never goes bad, you never stock it, there's no logistics, and it continues to go up as you get better. And so if you don't know how to make money, there you go.
I love that. Yeah, I was actually, I'm sure you get this a lot, but the 100 Million Offer book is fucking phenomenal. I mean, it's just so tactical. I'm sure between the 2 of you guys, it's a lot of the ways that you apply it to your business. I see like the philosophy in it, and a lot of the tactics. You don't think so?
Oh, sorry, no, I have nothing to do with the offer. I don't give a shit about that stuff.
Why?
I mean, I do, because I'm like, never offer something that we can't do, right? Of course. Like but when he's like, here's what the offer could be, then I'm like, I will build the thing to fulfill that.
To realize that.
So that's how it works.
Like, this is what I want to promise.
Yeah, he's like, this is what I want to promise. I'm like, here's how we could do that. Yeah. And that's how we work together. So it's like, I don't...
It's clouds
that
and
stuff
dirt.
doesn't even interest... I am not interested in marketing. And so people ask marketing, like, how do I... I'm like, I don't have it. I don't have interest. I find branding interesting. I find anything that's not paid. Like, people don't have to give you money on the marketing. Like, I like it. Yeah. But, like, direct marketing, like, I know all the inside and out. Like, we're married. Like, I know all of it. I like sales. I was in sales. Yeah. But, like, marketing and the offers and all that, I'm just like... No. I mean, it's like when I talk about meetings, he's like, like, here's how you conduct the meeting. And he's like, I want to kill myself.
He's like, I think there's this new way we can do agendas for these meetings. And we can set the first 5. I was like, fucking kill me.
Yeah.
No, thank you.
I feel like you hit the lottery for like a visionary person to have somebody who can actually do the thing. So did you
Great
talk
picker.
her into it, or did you talk him into not to be married but to work together?
I proposed on the first date. I mean, I proposed a business partnership.
Really?
Yeah.
But and what made you say yes, or even be interested in engaging early on?
I was actually really resistant in the first like 2 weeks. I was like, what? We just met on the internet, like what? And he would bring up. I said, can you just stop? Like
I don't even remember her saying, please stop, just as a side. I literally don't remember her saying.
I was probably not confrontational enough at that point. I would just get really uncomfortable and change the subject.
And I'd be like, why is she changing the subject? Let's talk more about this. This is way more important.
Yeah. He just kept saying, he's like, let me leapfrog you.
Yeah.
Like, you're trying to figure out if you're going to start a gym or if you're going to go all in online. Because I kept telling him, here's the two businesses. Which one do I go all in on? And he was like, neither. He's like, you must make so much more money if we do this thing together. And I was like, what? You know, but I was so young and he was so persuasive. Like, I'm pretty sure at that point, honestly, Alex, like, that was like, I was really susceptible. Like, so susceptible.
You had no shot.
I had no fucking chance. Like, I was also in sales, but, like, I loved it. Like, I was like, he was selling me on myself and my capabilities and how much money I was going to make if I joined with him. And I think it was a good sale. But no, he totally sold me on. Like,
reality distortion field of Alex.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I like joke because like in the beginning, the first like year, it was totally like that. And then finally, I feel like I started going to masterminds. I started like acquiring more knowledge, and I was like, I see what's happened here. You know?
I
was like,
that.
you got a good deal going on, you know.
And then you got half of everything, so then she resold me. So.
That's good. How did you know that she was an operator that you wanted to partner with that quickly?
I didn't know she was an operator that I wanted to partner with. I just knew that she was good at stuff that I wasn't good at, and I saw that she worked really hard, and she knew how to sell. And so that was it. Like she was top sales rep for 24 Hour Fitness in Orange County, and she was like 23. And so I had a bunch of gyms, and I was doing fitness sales. So I was like, hey, girl. I was like, if you know how to sell weight loss, I was like, we can make a bunch of money together. And that was pretty sure word for word what I said. I was like, we can make a lot of money together. I think if Leila had like a single superpower, it's that she's like a chameleon, but like unbelievably coachable. Like she can whatever is required is what she'll figure out how to do. And I think she's more malleable than I am. And so honestly, I think that's why it was like two of us have the same thing. She's like, I'm more malleable. I'll go figure it out. And then she became what she is now. But I think she's just incredibly like whatever the lock requires, she'll just like morph into that to like get the job done. And it's great. And that's why, I mean, there's a reason that until I met Leila, I didn't make serious money. I made like some money. I had a chain of gyms, but we didn't we had 5-6 locations, but like, I wasn't making, I wasn't making a ton of money.
Yeah.
But like as soon as she came in, like everything blew up.
Holy hell. After meeting with Hormozi, I'm totally overwhelmed. That guy's like a walking Twitter episode of all the to-do lists I should do. I guess, honestly, if I'm going to build a $100 million business, I got to think a little bit bigger. Did it work?